Hi guys, Valentine's Day is almost here. I don't know, some people love Valentine's Day, some people hate it. I'm kind of mixed. It's just basically an excuse for me to eat those like little conversation hearts and some chocolate. But today I wanted to show you one of like the quintessential Valentine's Day recipes, how to make a chocolate souffle. I used to live in San Francisco, and one of my favorite Valentine's Days ever is my husband and I went to this restaurant called Cafe Jacqueline. I don't know if it's still open. If it is, I'll link it below so you guys can check it out. And the only thing they serve is souffle. So we had like a lobster souffle, and then we had a variation of this orange and chocolate souffle that I'm gonna show you how to make. It's super easy. It seems scary, but there's a couple tips and tricks that I'll teach you along the way to make this super simple. So let's get started. Okay, so first up, let's prepare our ramekins. I'm gonna do 4 kind of 6-ounce ramekins. You could do 6 4 ounces, or like one big, large 24 ounce. That's a lot of math that I just did there, but we're gonna prepare them. Some people say that this is what helps the souffle rise, and I'm all for it if it's gonna help it rise. So just brush the inside of this ramekin with a little butter. And if you don't have a pastry brush, you can just use a paper towel. I've brushed it completely with the butter, softened butter, and then we're gonna sprinkle a little bit of granulated sugar in there. And make sure the whole inside of that ramekin is covered with sugar. That's what's gonna help it kind of rise and bring up that really pretty souffle above the ramekin. Okay, so this is covered with that sugar and butter. We're gonna set it off to the side while we make the souffle. Okay, so let's start the souffle. I've got a big bowl. I'm gonna add in about 8 ounces of bittersweet chocolate. And then on top of that, I've got half a cup of cream that I just warmed up in the microwave, or you could do it on the stovetop, but we want really hot cream. And just pour that over the chocolate, and that's gonna melt it. So let's set that off to the side while we separate some eggs. Okay, so we need 4 egg yolks and 6 egg whites for this recipe. So you can put the egg whites in a small bowl, and then the yolks in a bigger bowl. So I've got my 4 egg yolks, and now we just need the whites. Perfect. So just set the egg whites off to the side temporarily. And to those egg yolks, we're gonna add in 1/4 cup of sugar, 1 tablespoon of Grand Marnier. So I'm flavoring this souffle like orange and chocolate because I love that combination. I love the orange chocolate combination, but you could definitely skip this part. So you could skip the Grand Marnier and the orange zest and instead just do vanilla or do peppermint and do peppermint and chocolate, which would also be really good. So 1 tablespoon, if you are gonna use it, of the Grand Marnier and 1 tablespoon of orange zest. And then just a pinch of sugar. And whisk this together. So my chocolate has been sitting with that hot cream for a couple minutes, and it is perfectly melted. If for some reason the chocolate doesn't melt at this point, you can just throw it in the microwave. And then to that chocolate mixture, we're gonna add those egg yolks and sugar mixture. You wanna make sure that your chocolate's not scalding hot before you put that egg mixture in there. If it is, just give it like a couple seconds to cool down. We're gonna stir this together. Make sure it's really well incorporated. So we're gonna set this off the side for a couple minutes while we whip those egg whites. So we're gonna add those egg whites to the bowl of a stand mixer. You can do it by hand, and actually that restaurant that I was talking about, Cafe Jacqueline, there really is a Jacqueline, and she's in the back whipping egg whites all night long. But for the sake of time and just because it's a little easier, let's either use a stand mixer or a handheld mixer. And a little bit of cream or tartar. The cream or tartar is just gonna stabilize those egg whites because the egg whites are what's kind of most important in the souffle. It's what's gonna create that kind of rise in the souffle. So we're gonna start on low and then gradually go up to high until we have kind of like soft peaks. So when you whip the egg whites on low, you're actually incorporating air into the egg whites, which is what we're gonna increase the speed and then add more air. But before you kind of jack up the speed to high, you wanna keep it on low until like little bubbles form around the egg whites. That's just gonna like help to stabilize your egg whites as well. So the bubbles are there, let's increase the speed to high. Okay, so my egg whites are kind of like at soft peaks. You'll know they're soft when they kind of don't stand up on their own. We're now gonna keep the speed at high, but then add in 1/4 cup of sugar, just a little bit at a time. So my egg whites are looking good. So you'll know that they're ready when they can kind of like stand up on their own, like that. It's so cool. And that they're kind of nice and glossy. So these egg whites are ready to be incorporated. Okay, so in addition to whipping these egg whites to kind of stiff, glossy peaks, this next step is pretty crucial in the souffle making, but it's super easy and I'll show you how to do it. So we want to fold in these egg whites into this base, but you don't want to stir it because if you stir it, you're going to really break down that kind of fluffy egg white. So we're going to fold it in. So just taking a little bit at a time, put it right in the center, and we're just basically going to fold it until each dollop of egg white is incorporated. When you think about it, souffles are nothing more than kind of a base of chocolate mixed in with some eggs and egg whites. So it's super easy. They just have this reputation of being really hard. But if you followed my advice about the egg whites, both mixing them and folding them in, I promise you'll have a foolproof souffle. Another myth about souffles is that you have to do everything at like the last second before you serve it. It's actually not true. So if you wanted to make your Valentine or just yourself a dinner, you could actually make this whole souffle, put it in the ramekin, and then store into your refrigerator until you're ready to bake. It take an extra minute or two in the oven just because it's cold, but it shouldn't affect the rise of your souffle at all. Souffles are also naturally gluten-free. I feel like I'm selling you on the souffle in this video. I just love them. I think they're extra fancy, but really simple. They are gluten-free just kind of by nature. So it's good for all of our gluten-free friends. Okay, let's just put in the last of those egg whites, and then we're ready to bake. So my egg white mixture is completely incorporated into the chocolate base. Now we're ready to put it into the ramekins. So we're going to take that mixture and just put it into the prepared ramekin and fill it like 3/4 of the way full. And then just repeat with the remaining ramekins. So onto a sheet tray, it just makes it easier to go in and out of the oven. We're going to bake these souffles for about 14 to 16 minutes or until they're nice and puffy and kind of coming up above the edge. Okay, here we go. Souffles are out of the oven. You have to act quick because they're going to start to deflate. So let's put a little bit of powdered sugar on them, and then you can just dig on in. So it's going to deflate as I do this, but it's going to be so worth it. I mean, that is like the perfect bite of food. It looks so good. Thanks so much for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and make sure to hit subscribe because I upload new recipe videos each week.